Hello everybody, Timothy Bailey from Project Learn with our video for today. Today we are going to talk about the future. Well, we're going to talk about how we express things in the future anyways. But what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about tense, T-E-N-S-E, right? And these are the three tenses that we have. The present, we see the boy eating the sandwich. Let's call him Devin. Devin is eating a sandwich. Right? He is doing that right now in the present tense. Now let's imagine in the past we have two girls here, May and Bo. May and Bo ate sandwiches. Perhaps earlier today for lunch, that would still be the past, or perhaps yesterday they ate sandwiches. Okay, either way, the past. So we have the present and the past. And how do we talk about the future? Well, again, that's what we're going to look at now. The future has two main ways of expression, ways to say the future. One of those involves the word will, so you will probably see that a lot. I think this method of talking about the future is possibly the most frequently used. The other way is to use a be verb and then somewhere in your sentence, another verb with an ing suffix on the end. Let me give you two examples. In November, I will go to California. Okay. Will tells us the future, not just the month, right? So if, for example, it is October, then I know it's the future. But will also tells us the future. Will go. In November, I am going to California. You might also hear people say, I am going to go to California. Okay. Again, the be verb, and then here's a verb with an ing, also telling us the future. But there are four forms of the future tense that you might read or you might actually hear someone using. And let's look at those now. So I'm using these little simple charts here to sort of demonstrate how the time works. And they work pretty good mostly, but we're going to talk about them either way. So this is the simple perfect, right? What we just looked at. It's simple because, for one reason, it uses less words and the understanding is a lot easier. This one talks about events that haven't happened yet in the future. Events that also happen sort of at a very specific point in the future. For example, in January. In January, I will begin math class, right? So imagine these are months, right? January, February, March, April, whatever. In January, here, this point in the future, I will begin math class. In January, I am going to begin math class. Same. In January, right here, this point in the future, I am going to begin math class. So these two methods of expressing the future, the same, right? They don't have anything different in terms of their meaning. They're both telling the reader or the listener that you, the speaker, will be starting your math class in January. Okay? This point in the future. Okay, so as you can see, quite simple, right? Quite simple. We have will and the verb, then we have a be verb, am, is, are, going to, right? Going to, and the verb. So here's the verb begin. Okay, will, verb, am going to, verb. Let's look at the next one. This is the future continuous. And the trick with continuous, also called progressive sometimes, is you have to think of it not as one event, right? January, starting my math class, but something that goes on and on. The future continuous, events that will be unfinished or in progress. For this one, we use will, be, and the present participle. The present participle, let me bring it up. The verb with the ing. The ing tells us usually that something is happening over and over, right? Continuously, at least when it's a verb. So in January, I will be taking a math class, okay? All of January, I will be attending, I will be taking, I will be studying for this math class. Again, the other way to say this using the be verb, am, is, are, going to be, and then the present participle. Oh, and I hit the button too soon. There we go. Let me go back to where we were. In January, I am going to be taking a math class. Now, if you notice one thing, the simple future and the future continuous, while they do have a slight difference in meaning, may often tell us the same information, right? So these two sentences are the same, and they're also very similar to the simple perfect that we looked at just a minute ago. The difference is in what it stresses. This one stresses that the math class is ongoing, right? Unfinished in January, it's in progress. The simple perfect stresses when you are starting, when you are beginning the math class, right? So for example, the simple perfect might tell somebody, I can't take another class because I'm beginning a math class in January. Whereas the future continuous might suggest maybe I'm going to be busy, right? Because I will be taking a math class, so I don't have a lot of free time. Okay, so we do use them at different points, but the information they're giving, really similar. Let's look at the third one. This is the future perfect. And when we think of perfect, we can think of things that are completed or that are very specific in some way. The future perfect talks about events that will be completed before another event, right? In the future. Notice the drawing here, right? The whole thing is in the future. I will have finished my prerequisites by the time I start my second year. Prerequisites, if you go to university or to college, are all the classes you need to take before you begin your major. For example, if you want to be a nurse, you might need to take math and science and an English class, right? You take all those to begin with. So imagine two dates in the future, or two sort of points in time, right? I will have finished my prerequisites. Maybe I finished them in May of 2021. By the time I start my second year, I will start my second year in August of 2021. So here we have two very specific events, the finishing of my prerequisites and then the starting of my second year. Okay, so we use the future perfect when these two events, right, we want to relate them somehow, right? I'm telling somebody I'm done with my prerequisites by the time I start the second year, right? Maybe I'm talking to a friend who wants to know how school is going, what my plan is, what they need to know to start school, and I'm telling them, well, I will have finished my prerequisites by the time I start my second year. So you might want to think about that. Maybe I'm giving them some advice. Okay. This second one, using the be verb and going to, this is very infrequent. I crossed this one out. I think for the future perfect, the will version is the one you will see probably 90% of the time or more. So I'm going to give you another example for that one. Wilma will have turned 1 year old by the time she visits China. So what are the two events, right? Wilma turning 1 year old. So let's say that one is here, right? That one happens first. Notice first, then the second event. Wilma visits China, going to be here sometime in the future. And we don't have to know when this is, right? we have no idea. It could be in the near future, the next year, or the more distant future, the next few years. Either way, this will have happened. She will have turned 1 year old by the time this happens, no matter when that is, right? All right, let's look at our last one. And this is the future perfect continuous. And again, continuous, so related to something sort of ongoing. The future perfect continuous deals with events that will be completed at some specified point in the future, and they began in the present or the past, right? Or possibly also the future. Look at an example. I will have been studying English. I will have been studying for over 4 years when I graduate from the university. Okay. What you see is the continuous nature of this, not the two events like we just looked at. Right? My prerequisites are finished. I'm starting my second year. But we're looking at something that goes on, right? That progresses or has continuousness to it, right? And this might also have started in the present or the past, right? I could be talking about the future, but I could have also already started. Maybe this is my second year, and I'm telling someone that I will have been studying for over 4 years when I graduate from the university next fall, right? So here, when I graduate next fall, that's going to be in the future, but I've been studying for over 3 years already, okay? So again, the progression, the continuousness of this goes from sometime in the past, right, or even in the present or in the future, into a date further into the future. Again, my suggestion here is that the B version of this, not very frequently used. You can probably ignore that for now. I'll give you another example. Hector will have been living in the United States for 5 years when he becomes a citizen. So Hector's going to become a citizen sometime here, right? Does Hector live here now? Yes. The continuous often means it's going on now. So Hector in the present, no matter when that is, right, is living in the United States, right? And he will become a citizen sometime when it's about 5 years, right? So we don't know exactly when that is because we don't know the year. All right. I hope this was helpful for you. We will look at it again in greater detail. Here are some very good links. This is a general future tense link, and then we have the future continuous, the perfect, and the perfect continuous websites that you can also look for. Practice this. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow morning. Think about what you will do this weekend. Think about what you will do next year. And think about how you can express those events. Thank you, and have a great day.